Hello, thank you for joining me today. I'm Azrael, and I'm here to take you on a journey into the exciting and surreal world of Victorian trade cards. So, what are Victorian trade cards? They are vivid, weird, and oftentimes disturbing business cards that were printed on cardstock in the late 1800s. They are precursors to the modern day advertisement, if you will, where the more outlandish and memorable the card was, the more likely it would be to go viral, which is exactly what the businesses wanted. Got to get those dollar bills. So, what can we learn from them? Well, for one, the artwork offers us a window into what popular culture and society were like at the time. For example, what clothing did people wear? What foods did they eat? Who were the notable celebrities of the time, and what were their scandals? Oscar Wilde's in this painting. This work is actually a satire of what was considered high fashion in the 1880s. Today we have Ugg boots and Crocs. Back then they had puffy sleeves and frilly hats. Now, oftentimes there was a moral or a lesson attached to the cards, such as this message that you can preserve your teeth with narcotics, stimulants, and a good old-fashioned felt tooth polisher. Or the heartwarming Christmas legend that the demon Krampus is watching your children and will sneak into your house in the middle of the night to take them off to a snowy woodland realm to make them eat a plate of pine cones or something. Now, Krampus is actually still a problem in this day and age, as we saw in 2019 with the case of the Austrian Krampus demons gone rogue. And as I myself saw just yesterday when Krampus decided to pop in to say hello to IT when they were logged into my work machine. So thank you for that, Father Krampus. Also, Krampus doesn't make children eat pine cones. He kills them and then eats them. Now, life wasn't all fancy dress parties and marauding Krampus demons. Times were hard, especially if you were poor. But as we got closer to the 20th century, the English and American economies began to improve, and we began to experience this strange new concept of disposable income. And what do we humans do when we have a bit of extra cash? We buy things. Do these things make us happy? Some people might tell you no, but I am here to tell you that if you are out buying Victorian trade cards, then the answer to this question is a resounding yes. So how did all of this come about? Entertainment. One of the things that defines us as humans is that we love to be entertained. We love things that grab our attention, and we love things that tell a story. We find something that we think is funny and we pin it, we repost it, we like, subscribe, and share it. If it's something that's tangible, then we might collect it. And this was the case with the Victorians and the trade cards that they placed, oftentimes with very toxic materials such as arsenic wallpaper, into scrapbooks. Now, I myself had a similar hobby when I was growing up. Garbage Pail Kids. Topps trading cards that came with 5 stickers and a square of bubble gum that tasted like sugar sprinkled over the bottom of a cheap running shoe. Our parents hated them, but we thought that they were hilarious, so we collected them. Now, that's enough background material onto the murder frogs. So frogs murdering each other was a recurring theme in the Victorian era. While many cultures associate frogs with rebirth and renewal, as in their transformation from tadpoles into adult frogs, Western Europe at the time had the bad habit of associating them with plague and pestilence and scary things like witchcraft. Ooh. If there's anything that the Victorians loved as much as having opium, cocaine, and arsenic in their pharmacies, it was a good bit of wordplay. Hence this murder scene accompanied by the phrase hearty wishes. And it's not just daggers either. This gunslinger on the right here is absolutely outraged that his muffins were not made with Hecker's griddle cake flour. And at the opposite end of the murder spectrum, we have a frog who is excited to show off his new suit, a frog who is smoking his first pipe, and a frog who is actually Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice. So take that, Victorian sensibilities on frogs. Frogs are awesome. And in addition to murdering and jaunting about town, we also have frogs displaying the full circle of life, from courtship to conception to the dark realization that their future is not quite as full of flies and croaks on a lily pad as they once thought it was going to be. And to be quite honest, I think we can all relate to this scenario on some level. Which brings us to the phenomenon of Victorian vegetable people. Now, if you've ever come across Jane Asher's book of fancy dress costumes, it's pretty much like that. So if anybody needs any Halloween costume ideas this year, this book will tell you how to make yourself into, say, a sandwich. Absolutely nobody will be expecting you to come to their party dressed as a sandwich. But for the Victorians, the cards didn't depict people dressed as vegetables. They depicted people as vegetables. So why vegetables, you might be asking? I know I asked this question. I did a deep dive. And I'm still asking this question. I don't know. What I do know is that ear of corn on the far right is trying to get us to go to Kansas City, Missouri to buy a Bradbury piano. And I, for one, am on board. I would like to have a Bradbury piano. For anybody who believes in reincarnation, here is your proof for your friends that Gene Kelly used to be an ear of corn, and that this distraught turnip man went on to become a lead character in the award-winning American television sitcom Third Rock from the Sun. The Victorians actually did make predictions on what they thought the world was going to look like in 100 years. They predicted that we would be able to cross the continent in flying machines, that tourists would be able to take submarine excursions in the open ocean, and that we would be able to watch concerts and operas in our very own homes. Now, thinking about the technologies that we have now, aside from what appear to be here the aeronautical bread products depicted here, this isn't too bad on the prediction front. Hashtag phonograph and lounge. So the Victorians were incredibly innovative when it came to providing food fodder for your holiday nightmares. Here we have evil Christmas pudding, Freddy Krueger pearman, and a suspicious looking spy pig who is sneaking about town with a pair of binoculars and little book of secrets. We also have a cat riding a rat. We also have a rat riding a Christmas lobster, a very unhappy child who is somehow stuck in a teapot, and a satiated looking bull who is smoking a pipe and innocently looking through a magnifying glass. Now, why would it be so important for the bull to be well fed here? Because it's his last supper. Over at Fairbank Canning Company, it's the lion who is in charge and the bovines who are sent to slaughter. But it's never a quick slaughter because lions are cats and cats are psychopathic jerks. Here we have a herd of bulls running away from a lion with a brandishing iron and a lion and bull dancing on a can of corned beef, which is probably, to be quite honest, made from the bull's own friends and family members. So where does this leave us now? For one, the artwork that prevails during our times of greatest struggle tells us about the resilience of the human spirit and what we hold closest to us. Life during the Victorian era was hard, and it was filled with death and disease, not to mention the utter despair that comes with living in poverty in a class-based system that is designed to keep you poor. Surely for many, the situation must have felt absolutely hopeless. But nevertheless, what survives in these jaunty trade cards is a symbol of strength and creativity. These are the cards that made people laugh. They caught people's attention and made them want to hold on to them because having them in their lives made their lives better. I was in a somewhat dark place when I found the lion and bull dancing on a can of corned beef. I think about how happy the image made me just knowing that someone's creative process led them to design such a dark and disturbing but also amazingly hilarious image. I like to think that maybe one day in 100 years or so, the same card will bring as much joy to someone else as it does to me right now. So thank you for listening to me nerd out for a while about Victorian trade cards.